Hello, this is a video response to SoupX Reply's video titled, "Is flying the Mexican flag above the US flag illegal?" And first two notes. One is this is my first attempt at quick cam direct upload, so don't know how it'll work, we'll see. And second is my intention for this video response is to clarify some serious misconceptions regarding US flag law. There's a lot of misunderstanding about this law. So let's get right to it. Is flying the Mexican flag above the US flag illegal? Well, but for the word illegal, I'd rather change that to unlawful to make this a very clear answer. But yes, if flying is flying a Mexican flag above the US flag unlawful? The answer to that question is absolutely yes, it is unlawful. However, this is where the big misconceptions come into play all the time, and I see it all over YouTube and all over this story and other stories in the past about U.S. flag law. U.S. flag law, that's U.S. Code Title 4, Chapter 1, Sections 1 through 10, are a series of laws that specify the proper handling, the proper display, the proper customs and traditions regarding the U.S. flag. These are laws. So, failure to follow these laws, failure to follow the specifications of these code sections is unlawful. However, and this is where the big misconceptions come in, the big however, it is not a crime. These laws were never intended to make a specific behavior or a specific action with the U.S. flag criminal. There's no criminal penalty attached with these laws, and there's no mechanism specified in these laws for law enforcement. There never was intended to be. That was not the point of these laws, and it never was. The sole point of U.S. Code Title 4, Chapter 1, Sections 1 through 10, the sole point of that series of laws was to formally codify customs and traditions with regard to the U.S. flag. Now keep in mind, I'm not arguing here whether these laws should be on the books or whether they're right or wrong. I'm just pointing out the facts about trying to dispel the misconceptions about these laws. Violating these laws is not a crime. It was never intended to make anything criminal. These laws are simply formal codifications of customs and traditions. That's it. So you could fly the flag any way you choose, and while that is technically unlawful because of these series of laws, it is not criminal, and there's no penalty. Nobody can arrest you for it. So that's the first thing. And just on a minor technical point about flying the Mexican flag above the U.S. flag, as a point of law, okay, as a point of emotion, yes, that's what some people were upset about. But as a point of law, that wasn't really the issue, that the Mexican flag was above the U.S. flag. That from a standpoint, strictly a standpoint of law, that's not the issue. It was unlawful, but not because it was the Mexican flag above the U.S. flag. I'll explain. In U.S. Code Title 4, Chapter 1, Section 7, subsection G, states that national flags of nations should be displayed on their own poles. You can't display any national flag above any other national flag. That, from a standpoint of law, that's the issue. Okay, it wouldn't matter if it's a Japanese and a Russian flag. If they're displayed on the same pole in the United States, because of this law, that's unlawful. Again, it's not criminal, it's just unlawful. And this U.S. law was actually just an adaptation of international custom into U.S. law. So as a matter of international custom, flying national flags on the same pole is a taboo. As a matter of international custom, it's considered rude anywhere to do such a thing. Okay, that's the point of law. All that said about the law and the misconceptions regarding the law, it's not criminal. These are just codified customs and guidelines regarding the U.S. flag. It was never intended to make anything criminal. That's not what these laws were about. Okay, that aside, now let's just briefly look at, I'll give my opinion about what happened in Reno, Nevada. I've heard people talk about how this guy that went up there with a knife and cut down this flag was guilty of theft and so on. And strictly speaking, from a matter of law, that's incorrect as well. The man did commit a crime, but the crime he committed was not theft. The crime he committed was armed robbery, actually, and that's a very serious felony. He walked right past the storekeepers, the owners of that flag, with a knife, a big knife in his hand. The size of the knife wouldn't matter as a point of law, but he had a knife. He walked right past the owners of the property, cut down the flag, and took it away. That satisfies all the elements of the crime armed robbery, not simple theft. Okay, that said, there's not a prosecutor in the country that's going to prosecute that man for armed robbery, and even if a prosecutor decided to, they would not likely get a conviction from any jury because of the emotionally charged nature of the incident. It's just not going to happen. But technically, as a matter of law, if you looked at the law, that's a case of armed robbery. It wouldn't have been any different from him taking that flag than if he had went inside and held the knife to the throat of one of the store owners and said, "Give me all the money in the cash register." It's the same crime. It doesn't matter. But people are much more understanding of this because they felt that these people were disrespecting the United States by the way they displayed the flag. Even though they're completely ignorant of flag law and didn't understand why the display of the flag, even the television station that reported this incident missed the point of law. The point of law, again, wasn't that the Mexican flag was above the U.S. flag. That was a point of emotion. That wasn't a point of law. The point of law was that there were two national flags on the same pole. And you can look it up. Don't take my word for it, please. That's U.S. Code, Title 4, Chapter 1, Section 7, Subsection G. Okay, so look it up for yourself. That's the point of law. As far as the Mexican flag being above the U.S. flag, that was a point of emotion. So the man reacted emotionally with his knife and committed armed robbery and took the flag down. Many Americans would be willing to excuse that emotion because they felt slighted. But I would strongly disagree with that. I would suspect, although I don't know the backstory of this situation, I would suspect that the store owners there were unfamiliar with customs regarding how to fly the flag. Actually, I think it's probably honorable or positive of them that they wanted to fly the American flag. They could have just flown the Mexican flag and that wouldn't have been any problem. They wanted to fly the American flag as well because they're, I presume, new Americans or whatever. They just got it wrong. They put them on the same pole. So how would a reasonable response to that situation, what would a reasonable response to that situation be? Well, how about some dialogue? How about talking to these people? Again, I don't know the backstory. Perhaps they were trying to make a statement, some kind of political statement with putting the flags in that manner. But again, that would just be rude. But I would be willing to bet, or I would assume, that they just didn't know the proper customs with regards to how to fly a flag. So the appropriate way to handle that would be dialogue. Talk to the people. Say, a lot of people take it very seriously how we fly the flags, and this is the way we should do it. Maybe even go to Home Depot and buy a new flagpole and help them set it up and get it right. Then, by engaging in that dialogue, you build community with new immigrants to your community. And the United States is a nation of immigrants, so we should kind of be welcoming to the new arrivals, because we were all immigrants at some point. Our ancestors were. If you weren't, your ancestors were. So deal with that fact, and dialogue would be nice. That would have been the way to handle it, not committing armed robbery. If your Vietnamese friend, who in Vietnam the custom with regards to eating is to eat with your mouth open, and talk with food in your mouth, and most Americans and most Westerners find that kind of rude. But if you're eating with a Vietnamese friend and they happen to start chewing loudly with their mouth open, you don't pull out a knife and commit armed robbery. No, you talk to them about it, if anything, right? Armed robbery is never the correct response to rudeness. And at worst, I think these guys that displayed the flag in that way were committing rudeness. That's about it. Okay, so my first direct upload is done. I hope I was